The horrible bouncing seen from the drivers' cameras during the whole week of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix displayed how difficult it might have been for the drivers to sit in cars and do hundreds of laps at 200 miles per hour. The porpoising in Baku went too far, pushing the FIA to take matters into their own hands. Teams expect bouncing at Baku because of the nature of the track and its long straight, which allows the car to go faster. What they did not expect was the effect that bouncing would have on drivers. Many drivers started to talk about their bad experience on the track and the pain they went through throughout the week. The FIA did not waste much time and jumped into the matter to solve the issue once and for all. Join us today in this video as we talk about porpoising in Baku in detail, the FIA's technical directive on the matter, and why this step is crucial for the sport and drivers. Formula One fans have added a new word to their vocabulary, porpoising, as it has become a buzzword in the sport. Everyone saw how violent it was during the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Before, Team Mercedes was cursed with the issue, which has translated into their bad performances this season compared to the previous one. Its team rival Red Bull has tackled the issue better and is now leading both the drivers and the constructors' standings. What was supposed to be bouncing for individual teams to tackle quickly took a more serious turn after it was experienced by almost all cars during the whole weekend on the race day in Baku. There is something unique to the circuit which exaggerated the problem. The track has a long straight of more than 1.3 miles, encouraging drivers to go as fast as they can, which in turn makes the bouncing more pronounced. As seen from the drivers' cameras, one would wonder how the drivers were controlling the car while having their heads bouncing up and down so rapidly. And rightly so. Many drivers, from Mercedes' George Russell to AlphaTauri's Pierre Gasly, voiced their concerns about the issue after the race. Talking about the issue to the media after the race, George Russell said, "It's just that the cars are running so close to the ground. It's crazy out there through those high-speed corners, the car's fully bottoming out. I think it's the same for everybody and it's really not comfortable to drive." For all of us, conversations are going to be needed as everybody is in the same boat, really. Pierre Gasly of AlphaTauri was also vocal about the issue and urged teams to find a solution to it, as he said, "We discussed it at the drivers' briefing and kind of alerted them on this problem and tried to ask them to find solutions to save us from ending up with a cane at 30 years old." Lewis Hamilton started to complain about back pain in the middle of the race and after the race said that it was the most painful drive of his life. As the sport was growing very rapidly, porpoising could affect the health of drivers, both in the short term and long term, miring the sport into controversy. After launching an investigation, the FIA intervened in the matter and gave a technical directive for the teams to solve the issue. This technical directive has been criticised by some teams as they have tagged it as propaganda pushed by one team to change the rules and regulations to cut the advantages that the other teams have over them. Some teams had concerns that the FIA would give some requirements related to the heights of cars, but the FIA has not done that. The first proposed measure by the FIA to deal with the issue is closer scrutiny of the planks and skids, both in terms of their design and the observed wear. While the second is related to a metric based on the car's vertical acceleration that will give a quantitative limit for an acceptable level of vertical oscillations. To further take all teams on board, the FIA has asked all teams to participate and give their input to come up with a metric based on which car's acceleration will be limited. Nonetheless, the intervention was indeed a good step to protect drivers. It is indeed easy for cars to overcome the bouncing by raising it to some extent, but the problem with it is that it compromises the performance of the car. Teams must find the right balance between the two, and if push comes to shove, they will compare their drivers, especially the younger ones, to compromise some of it for an edge in their performance. One of the most important things in any sport is progression. There are harmful activities involved in other sports that end up hurting the players later in their lives. The best example of that is headers in football in the past, which caused many brain-related issues with players later in their lives. In the same manner, Formula One should improve and take steps to make the sport safer for drivers, as the FIA has been taking a lot of safety measures that have reduced fatalities in the sport to almost zero. Critics and many legends have raised concerns about the role of the FIA and how it has made the sport dull. There may be some kernel of truth in this argument, but fans do not want their favourite drivers to risk their lives or have some problem because of it after their retirement. As far as improvements of cars is concerned, had the FIA not intervened in the matter, the porpoising issue would be dragged on further by teams because of their desire not to lose performance. Another important thing the FIA might have to take into consideration is that the cars in F1 are not expected to change drastically until 2026. Until then, allowing drivers to drive with head bouncing the way it did in Baku could end up in an accident because of loss of focus. This concern was also taken into consideration by the FIA when they issued the technical directive, and this type of proactive thinking should be appreciated by everyone. Speaking to the PA agency, Gemma Fisher, the first human performance consultant osteopath within F1, shared her thoughts about the importance of fixing the porpoising issue. Porpoising is a very specific phenomenon, and the huge loads which are going through the drivers is exasperating that even further. We are putting drivers into a restrictive, fixed position and then moving them at significant speed. Load is applied to the front of the disc, which sends pressure towards the back of the disc. Over time, a driver can stress those fibres within the disc. They become stretched and damaged, and when force is applied, the nucleus from the centre of the disc is pushed to the damaged areas. She also explained how the frequency of oscillations could ultimately lead to other problems, like concussion and head trauma. This is indeed a serious scenario, which all the popular sports in the world have made rules around. And another factor that aggravates the problem, which she also mentioned in her talk, is that bumpier tracks are placed back to back in the F1's calendar with no time for the drivers to heal and recover. With the races expected to increase in a few years, ignoring issues that could have long-lasting damaging effects on the driver's health is not a good strategy for the sport that is on an exponential rise in its popularity. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section about the porpoising issue and the FIA's intervention. That's it for today. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.